Now, with the release of Shadow Generations back in October of 2024, Shadow got some amazing new moves, including these awesome Doom Wings. Now, these were the standout for me, and as a figure collector, I wanted figures of them badly. Now, we all know how that ended with this tragedy of the Jakks Pacific Collector Shadow figure that is very lackluster in accessories, and the Doom Wings are alright, but it doesn't warrant the $50 price tag. The 4-inch Jakks Shadow figure is a little odd because his arms are really fat, which is weird because in-game Sonic and Shadow share nearly identical body proportions. So I am going to make my own figure using Sonic's body. So what I wanted to do was make my own mini version of a collector Shadow with Doom Wings and all, and that included swappable faceplates. Since it was a 4-inch scale, I kind of kept the muzzle and eyes intact instead of having these separate parts. Just to keep it a little bit more sturdy and stable. So here in Blender, you can see that I kept the muzzle and eyes together, and I made like a kind of peg contraption into the actual skull or the head itself. And I usually don't show video of me doing this process of getting it ready to 3D print, mainly because I am very bad at Blender, and I know I'm going to get comments of people telling me how bad I am at Blender. But I'm just not really going to explain what I did because it was all just very spontaneous. And after I finished that, I printed the model and I got it ready to paint by primering it. I use a variety of different paints, and here you can see I use the Model Color, Dark Flesh, and the War Paint Glowing Inferno paints for the skin tone. So I started off painting the face plates first, and I made 3 different swappable expressions, which you'll see me painting right now. The first one just being a neutral face, the second one being like an open mouth face, and then the third one being like the box art face from Shadow the Hedgehog with his teeth and his little fang. And what I like to do is, since majority of Shadow is black, I paint all the lighter colors first, like the red on his head and everything. That way, when I go over with the black, black covers red pretty easily. And then I got this visceral red from Vallejo Model Color for the eyes, and I use this very fine tip brush just to paint them in as like a darker outline for the eyes. I will say painting these faces separately was really easy, because I didn't have to worry about tracing around the eyes themselves with black or anything. Since they were just separate, I was able to just freehand them and not really worry about any excess mess. Once the darker red portions dried, I was able to go in with a lighter red. This is Vallejo Scarlet to fill in the actual red on the eyes. I was really proud with how clean that came out. Then I got this ochre brown paint and I did a little trace of his mouth just so you can see it a little bit. And then I went in and did all the finer details in the eyes with the little tiny brush again. Then I can start painting the actual head itself and putting down my first layer of paint. Now to talk more about Shadow Generations. This game it's amazing. I absolutely love it. It is one of my top 5 Sonic games. And Sonic Team just really refined the boost formula all the way from Forces to now. It is nowhere near the same as the boost formula in Generations and Unleashed, but it's its own unique thing, and it's really cool how they utilize Shadow's moveset like the Chaos Control, Chaos Spears, and I just really love that about it. And Shadow just feels absolutely awesome in the game. He is very cool, and I really love how they tap into his backstory and him trying to get over everything that happened with Maria, Black Doom just reopening all those scars, and seeing Shadow kind of deal with those issues was just a really cool thing to see in this day and age for Shadow. I loved all of the different stages that they put in Shadow Generations. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna say it, guys. Chaos Island is one of my favorite stages. I love the Doom Morph, and I love Act 1's soundtrack. Valley from 06, that's probably one of my second favorite stages, man. It is so good. God, this stage is so good. Holy crap. Hey, it's the eagle. I don't need no eagle. I got the Doom Wings. Okay. Back to the figure. All right, I finished up the first faceplate by adding a little tap dot of white paint to make it look like the shine. And then I finished up tracing around the red spots on the head so I could paint it a bit better. And then I went through and painted the other faceplates the same exact way I did the first one. And I got this Vallejo model color brass for the gold areas on Shadow's gloves and shoes. So I was able to paint the inhibitor rings and the soles of the shoes, something that Jakks could not do with their collector Shadow figure. Gold paint goes a long way. And I actually dyed the modern Sonic body black, and I actually gave him elbow joints, which I didn't get on video, but I would like to make a video on that in the future, how I add those elbow joints. Alright, what you're going to need is some strong nail polish remover, and some RIT synthetic dye, and some cotton balls or cotton rounds. Then you're going to take off all the joints off the figure. Once you have the body, you get some nail polish remover and put it on the cotton swab, and you can actually rub off his chest print. Then you're going to get your RIT synthetic dye and make sure it is synthetic, because if not, it won't stick to the plastic that well. And you're going to want to bend some of his joints, that way the dye can get into the areas that are kind of covered. Bring some water to a boil and you can pour in a decent amount of dye. Then you can go ahead and plop your soon-to-be Shadow body in there. Stir it around, and after about 5 minutes, you can actually take it out, rinse it off, and pose him in a different way and dye him again, so that way you can get the other areas of the joints that were hidden. Once you do that, add some sealing coats to the body so that way the dye doesn't stick to your hands, and you should be good to go. Once the body was dyed, I painted his rally stripes on, and I added this custom printed chest fur. Alright, and then it was time to paint the red on the shoes, which I also used the Vallejo Scarlet. Now, personally for me, the shoes are probably the most fun to paint, just because Shadow's shoes are very simple, so not a lot of work involved, but once they're done, they look very, very awesome. And the gold on the inhibitor rings and on the soles just makes it look so much more premium than just flat yellow. Another thing I made sure to do was to use a small brush and paint the inside of the exhaust parts on his air shoes. That way they look like they're actual holes and not shallow cylinder things. I added the final touches on the last two faces, and I started testing out how they swap on and off, and they felt pretty good. But there was one more thing I had to make in order to make this my own collector's figure. The Doom Wings. So I grabbed the model of the Doom Wings from the game, and I slapped them in the blender, and I got them ready to print for my own custom figure, adding little holes in the back for his quills to go into and to be glued on. And once I printed them out, I primed them, and it was time to paint. Now, painting these things was so much fun because they just look so rad in the games. they have this very bright red on the tips of them and on the inner looking organs of the wings themselves. But on like the actual veins on the surface, they're like black. So what I did is I watered down some red paint and I brushed it all over the wings themselves. And on the actual wings in game, there's kind of like a gradient inside that goes from like red to purple and then to black. So I did the same thing I did with the red and watered down some purple paint, and I brushed it in between to create like a sort of that gradient look that the game has, which honestly, I'm really happy with how it looks. And then I watered down some black paint and I did the same thing. And you can already see just from that alone, it's starting to come together very nicely. I took a finer tip brush and I went through it with the hard black paint, and that way I can get a look for how the color transitions look with the black veins over them. Now, once they were all painted, I kind of dry brushed some purple over it just to get like a little nice purple hue to the wings like they have in the game. And that also made it look very, very good. And since they are kind of fleshy, once I finished painting them, I hit them with a very reflective gloss varnish. And they just have a very pristine look that I absolutely adore. And then I was able to put my shadow together. And that was it for this video, guys. Let me know what you guys think about the final product of this figure. I personally really love how it looks. I love the swappable faceplates. It makes them look more expressive, and I even added like a dry brush of silver at the bottom of the shoes to make it look scuffed. And I feel like all those small details bring this figure to a whole other level. I would love to do this to other characters in the franchise, maybe like a Sonic one with different facial expression and such. But in the meantime, let me know what you guys would like to see from me. Next, I have another Sonic X Shadow Generations custom in the works, so hopefully I can get that video out soon. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe to become an OG, because that's what everyone wants to be. And I will see you guys next time.